because the rest of the week is not going to be that way, okay? So we did that specifically because this is going to be an incredible week. Starting on Wednesday night after service, we're going to set up every chair in the worship center. We're going to set up every table that we can in the sanctuary, in the cafe, in the chapel, and then probably on that's Wednesday night. Thursday night, we're setting more tables up out in the courtyard and getting ready for and doing steak and study that night and cleaning up after that. So that's going to be huge. On Friday, we start with Taco Man feeding 500 ladies. So, and again, girls, you guys will be able to go to all the meetings, but you also have to help serve as well, you know, at the different times. But you get to be a part of all the ladies' things that are going on. So we're serving everyone dinner that night. That means, all the trash and stuff are going to have to be carried away that night. Then on on Saturday, there'll be like rolls and coffee in the morning, and then another massive cleanup, then lunch and another massive cleanup, and then dinner and another massive cleanup, and then for all the guys, during their last teaching session, we have to reset the sanctuary and the chapel for church on Sunday. And then I have a funeral on Sunday at 1 after the other two services. So it's going to be a busy weekend. So we tried to give you some extra time off. We'll try to squeeze in some more for you as well. So does everybody understand? Everybody ready to rock and roll through that? Okay. Then at the end of the month, another huge, big day is going to be the Harvest Festival. And although it's not as much set up as it once was, because it's all outside and people are doing their own things, so that should be a little bit easier. But we do appreciate everyone's extra work. It will give you all great experience and know how to pull off a great big conference. So this is like a pastor's conference. Then Lauren has a few things that she needs to go over with you. And remember something, we are now a commercial kitchen, okay? That means that the health department can show up anytime unannounced. So at all times, we have to make sure we're not doing anything that's going to get us in trouble in there. Everybody understand? And and the health department's coming this week for our final inspection, and we'll try to find, that one's a scheduled inspection. We might know when it is, or looking at this new mom sink we're doing. But anyway, she's probably going to buzz in and look at the kitchen and everything. I know we still have a couple people who do not have food handler's license. I think the new people, Haley and Angel, right?
I still have one because I worked in and out.
Oh, you have one. Okay, so we got Haley. We've got, who else doesn't have okay. So we've got to get you guys done. We'll try to do that right away. Everybody else has it. You don't have yours? Okay, so we got to get those 3 done, because otherwise you can't manage the job. Okay? So we'll try to get that done. And then Lauren, come up and tell, again, procedures in the kitchen.
Yeah!
So the only things are like, there's a spot for everything to go, and it has to go in that spot. It has to look organized, and it has to be clean. You can't put, I've been finding like pots and like the cookie sheets are still wet, and then they're stacked on top of each other. And that's when like bacteria, and that's not sanitary, and that's something that we fail for if they come in and find wet dishes stacked on top of each other. So they have to be air dried. They all have to go in the spot that they're supposed to be. One special thing is the big tall pots can't go on the top shelf. Because if you've seen like Miss Mary Ann, Pastor Raw's wife, and Phyllis can't get that. If she reaches to go like grab that, it's gonna fall on her and she's gonna like die. She's really frail. And then chemicals cannot be in the kitchen at all. So like to clean, yes, but they can't be put where something goes, ask me. There is literally a spot for everything, and your dish team leader should know where everything goes, and if not, then they can ask me too.
Question, how do we go about drying and putting all the stuff away?
So normally there's that big rack, and so everything should be on there drying, and then the next team will come in and put everything away before when they start doing dishes. So the breakfast team will put away like dinner team's dishes, and lunch team will put away breakfast team's dishes as they're cleaning up.
What about the stuff that won't fit on the rack, like the big pans and sheets and stuff?
We might just have to dry those themselves. That'll be like a special
Do we use
scenario.
in their rack? Because we have extra racks, so, no, they do.
So that's something that we'll figure out.
Can they stay drying next to the sanitizer machine?
They can stay on like a thing, but they can't just be laying on
Of course, so on one of those
a rack, yeah.
squares, racks, they can be next to the sanitizer.
So maybe do those the very last thing, leave the big pans, because I don't think we can dry them with a towel.
No,
Towels are no-no.
That's,
Oh,
it defeats the
Against
purpose of
the
this.
Yeah, because they've been sanitized through that, they have to air dry.
so when you said we might just have to dry them, what do you mean by that?
That's what I meant, so probably just have to put them.
No, there's a way the pants fit. I was fitting them today. There's a way. Just gotta-
On the,
Yeah.
or on the plastic?
Yeah.
So talk to Lucas and Lucas will show you how.
Let Lucas give a demonstration on how that can work. And again, this is new area for us, since all this has happened, we just have to, everybody has to be a bit more careful, okay? And then, was there other announcements, or was that it?
I have some. So real quick, with Friday, bless you. Friday, we talked about how we are starting the women's conference, we're feeding everybody's tacos, they're phenomenal tacos, it'll be awesome. But before that, at 12:30, we have a meeting at the church. And so we're moving the class on Friday from 9:30 to 11:30. It'll be done 30 minutes earlier, so we'll have a 11:30 lunch on Friday. And then we have a meeting at 12:30 at the church, and this is the sexual harassment seminar. And so this is actually an incredibly helpful and informative meeting. It's not something to be shrugged off or like, oh, we have to do this so that everyone signs off on it. It's not one of those meetings. It's going to be good, and the person who we bring out to do it is very entertaining, so it's not going to be really boring.
And it's by law.
Yeah.
By law, we have to do this, and there's no getting around it, nor can anybody opt out of it.
Yeah, and so it's going to be really good information, and it's going to help you. And it's just unfortunate the day that it fell on, because it's on the craziest week of the year. Sir,
Where is it at the church?
at the church, and probably the
It's
sanctuary.
probably the same.
So right
Because
now,
all our staff has to do it, every helper has to do it, and then all of you guys have to do
Sir,
aren't we setting up for the women's, stuff on Wednesday night though in the sanctuary?
it. Yeah, we'll sit around tables, it'll be fun.
Okay, cool.
Will there be childcare for that meeting? Probably not. Okay. It's not, my wife's on the staff.
okay.
And then, again, if you have not passed got your health thing, make sure that you see David, he's got codes for you to be able to do that.
I'm going to pull you out of this class and we'll talk. So you'll see me here soon. And then really quick, we've been doing something. I want to bring back something we used to do, and it's in a really good spirit, and the Lord really worked through it. When we show up to church 10 minutes early, instead of going 1,000 different directions, let's get all together in a group. Then we'll do roll call. Just make sure everybody's there, because it's impossible for the person who's taking roll to actually get everybody and be equitable. And then what I want to happen is for somebody to step up and pray for the service to the Lord that's going to be happening that night, that morning at church, and pray for the Holy Spirit to break down, for saints to be edified, for sinners to be brought into the fold and for us to be ministered to. So we'll gather for roll call and prayer 10 minutes before every service. Sound good?
Where we do like
Where the service is, find Emily. And so she's generally the one who's gonna be doing that. If not, look for,
So is that worship center?
so in the worship center, on Sunday mornings, in the sanctuary on Sunday and Wednesday nights.
We could do the gazebo for sanctuary services.
Gazebo for sanctuary services under where the picnic tables are by the TV outside the worship center. That's officially what we're doing. I'm not forgetting anything. Covered it all?
Yeah, the only thing is gonna start getting cold, so you'll only be able to do that for 3 or 4 days. So, and one other thing to keep in prayer, we just got notified that this county health department is coming to our school to inspect our school. So remember, we got the waiver from the county, now they're coming and inspecting us next week, so. There's just a lot going on these days with everything that's happening. So, with that, I want to introduce to you Dave Rose. Dave has been a part of our church for 20 years. 15. His wife, Annalise, felt God's call to move to Idaho. He was working with BJ at first up there. BJ was there for a short time up in the River Christian Fellowship in Twin Falls. And there was some people in Gooding who were saying, please send us somebody. And so Dave and Annalise, when BJ came back here, they stepped up to go to Gooding, and they've been in a very complicated process of trying to buy an old hospital, which, if you can imagine, it's a building just like this, with all kinds of rooms just like ours, except twice as big. So a huge building there in Gooding. They've taken part of it and remodeled it, and been there for 5 years now. So,
Idaho, 6 years.
all right, so let's welcome them, or him, and then they all feel alike. I did that to BJ the other night. That's a good That's good. All right. Thank you, guys. I know it's gonna be a big week, but I appreciate everyone's help and good attitudes in advance, so it's gonna be great.
Okay, so I got a couple questions for you guys first. Normally I'm here a little later in the year, maybe around November, December, something like that. But I was here Saturday, I talked to some of you, and you guys know why I'm here. Short and sweet, I should be in Ethiopia right now, but I'm not, because I was deemed an international warrant for my arrest. Interpol.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, huh?
I looked on their website, it's
What's that?
I looked on their website and I didn't see you there for.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah.
So I still don't know what's going on with that yet. I gotta call the lawyer tomorrow and see if I've been exonerated from that. I sent the pastor $300 from here to Nigeria. Sent the pastor $300. And they called me and said that I wired money through an insecure website, which was just Western Union, and that guy that I sent the money to was with Boko Haram, which is a terrorist organization in Nigeria and all over Africa, in the Middle East. And I'm like, that guy's a pastor. He's not with Boko Haram. Oh, they went arguing. No, and so are you. I'm like, wait a minute. This is a $300 exchange. I'm a pastor. I gave benevolence to a guy. I'm a guy. So anyway, they kind of see me as a victim, and so I'm waiting to hear back from that. But the guy told me, the lawyer said, don't get on the plane, because if you land in Ethiopia, you'll be arrested and sent to prison. So I'm not in the mission field. I look like I should be in the mission field. I'm here. I figured since I was here, we might as well do this now, right? And so what is it I'm going to do? I've done the last couple of years, and like Gerald said, our facility is, where's AJ?
He's sick.
He's sick. AJ's from our church, from my church. So, yeah.
He told me about this story.
Yeah. Which story?
The one you're talking about right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, like Gerald said, our building's just like this. That's an amazing testimony in itself. But across the street from Joshua Springs is assisted living, right?
Mhm.
So when we first went to Gooding, I went to Bible study, taught a Bible study, and the guy says, I want to go show you this hospital. So we went to this empty hospital. And it's much like this. And so we're standing outside the front door, and I said, well, what's that facility across the street? And he said, that's assisted living. So in my brain, what I was seeing is the same things I saw in Joshua Springs. I'm like, wow, that's familiar. I started the addiction ministry here 16 years ago. It's still going, free from bondage, it's still going today. And so that was a main part of my testimony as leading into being a pastor. And so the part of the building that we were in used to be a treatment center, a part of the hospital, a drug and alcohol treatment center. So anyway, that'll lead me into the questions. I want to ask everybody in here, just real quick, just tell me where you're from and why you're here. What's your name?
My name is Zachariah Diaz, and I'm from Pico Rivera, like Los Angeles, and I'm here to eventually, hopefully, become a pastor. I'm Zachary Colton, really Colorado, and here, I also go call me pastor.
Okay.
My name is Josh Gray. I'm from Iowa, California, and I'm here because I just want to know where
Okay.
My name's Joseph Davis, I'm from Winchester, California, and I'm here with Colton.
I'm Stevie, I'm from New Jersey, and I'm here because all my other options fell through.
Stevie.
Yeah.
Stevie.
I'm Sarah. I'm originally from Mississippi, but I moved to California 4 years ago. And I'm here because I want to know about the word, and I just want to really look for whatever else possible.
Okay.
I'm Daisy. I'm from Moreno Valley, California, and it's called.
Did you say Moreno Valley?
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Simon Maxwell, I'm from Willhoit, Arizona, and I'm here because God called me here.
Okay.
My name's Angel, I'm from Yucatan, California, and I'm here to grow.
Love me.
My name is Lucas Lopez, and I'm from here, and I'm here because God saved me, and I want more of Him, so.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm Emily. I'm from Bozeman, Montana. Three Parks, Montana.
I've been there.
Yeah. I'm here because kind of make sure what everyone else is saying, so I don't want to be a pastor. I want to grow. I want to be equipped to share the gospel with people. And it's called here.
I'm Patrick from Irvine, California, and I'm just here to grow deeper in the Word.
What was that?
To grow deeper in the Word.
Okay.
My name is Daniel. I'm from San Diego, California. I'm here to grow in ministry wherever the Lord leads me.
My name is Mike. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I'm here following the Lord's will in the ministry.
Are you interning right now, Jazz?
Yep.
Okay.
My name's Ralph. I'm from the Springs.
I know Ralph.
I'm from the Springs Calvary Chapel. I'm here to become a better servant and learn more about worship and how to be a better worship leader as well as a spiritual father.
Good to see you, bro.
My name is Zion. I'm from Eureka, California, and I'm here because the Lord called me here. And I believe He has a calling on my life.
I'm Grace. I'm from Kansas, and I'm here to give a strong foundation for wherever God takes me.
Praise God.
My name's Annika. I'm from here, and I just saw how this place changed other students' lives. And I just want to have
You're from Yucca?
from Joshua Tree. Yep.
Joshua Tree,
That
okay.
place.
I'm Dylan, I'm from Yucatan, California, and I'm just here because I felt called here, and I want to be able to learn more to defend the faith and
on so far.
My name's Lucretia, I'm from New Mexico, and I'm here because I wanna grow in the Lord, but also because I know God's calling me to start a ministry for, young women in abused relationships.
Young women and what?
In abused relationships.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Praise the Lord. That's amazing focus, and I'm sure this testimony to knock that out of the park. Huh?
That's funny.
You're up, dude.
Hey, I'm Ray, so, I'm just here to get a deeper understanding of who God is and to grow in wisdom.
I'm Christine Jennings, I'm from Florida, and I'm here to grow in my walk with the Lord and make that into children's ministry and becoming a teacher.
Perfect.
I'm Josh Naya, I came here to grow in faith with God. Shortly after.
Where you from?
Oh, Santa Maria, California. Shortly after, pursuing my career as a police officer, probably.
Okay, and one more?
I'm Hannah, I'm from San Jose, California. And what was the other question?
Where you're from.
Why are you here?
Just to grow closer to the Lord and to really know Him.
Okay, so that's good, because when I was teaching Bible college here a long time ago, a lot of students would come in, and in their first semester, their first class, I would ask them, why are you here? And we'd get a lot of answers like, I don't know, my mom knows Marilyn. Or, it's kind of drug treatment for me right now. Maybe that's some of you, it doesn't matter to me. But most of you seem to have a focus on why you're here, and some of you probably are still asking yourself the same question, right? Why am I here? How many of you kind of like, I'm here to grow in the Lord, but I don't really know why I'm here. Yeah? That right there is amazing. And I used to not think it was amazing. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. But God knows what He's doing.
Amen.
And you pulled into it. Yeah, so that is absolutely amazing. I'm not going to share my testimony with you, but bits and pieces of it are, God, are you doing something? Are you telling me to do this, or am I crazy? And the answer has always been, yes. Right?
Just yes.
Yes. Like, I'm crazy, and I am talking to you, right? Look at Peter. Peter stepping out of the boat, right? The whole world would say, are you crazy, or are you calling me to you? Because the only reason Peter could step out of the water is to go to Jesus, right? That's the only reason. So the world would say, as we all know, when he looked, the text tells us afterwards, he saw the wind and it was crazy, right? He began to sink. But beforehand, stepping out of that boat, is that not crazy? Yeah, but it was to go to Jesus, right? It's pretty gripping to me. And it's pretty emotional to me because I can relate to it, because I made the decision to say, you know what, I might be crazy. In fact, I am crazy. And of all the people from this church, probably the right guy who has a international warrant for his arrest. A lot of people here might say, I knew it. That dude, right? Because I'm from Southern California also. I was born in Long Beach. I lived all over Southern California, from Lake Elsinore, spent a lot of years there. So I know my way around Long Valley, and I was in a motorcycle club called the Saints, and they're up in Santa Maria. Yeah, I was at the Saints. Yeah, it's cool. Lived in Big Bear. Someone said Idlewild. That dude. Other mountain, but anyway. Lived in 29 Palms, Joshua Tree. Spent most of my time in Yucca. Worked all over Southern California for a door company. I can take all the back streets from here to LA. So I'm from here. I've been the last 6 years in Idaho. But I'm going to tell you part of my testimony of going to Idaho first, before we get into what's going on here. So, about 16 years ago, well, my wife was adopted at birth. Anybody in here adopted? Yeah? Yeah, cool. Amen for you. I love you. She was adopted at birth. She didn't know until she was 16 years old. And because her cousin had told her, well, you're adopted. And it was pretty serious and like it was pretty dramatic in the family. And my wife went digging around her mom's stuff and found a birth certificate. And so that birth certificate had a lady's name on it. Her name's Clyda Coover. Pretty weird name, right? That's an odd name. So not too hard to find on the internet. So she's known that since she was 16. So we were going to church here, and one day she calls me. I'm heading from Beaumont to here, and she says, "You know what? I've been praying. I think I want to find my real mother." And so she's praying with Debbie Wagner and another lady who was here, Kathy Roberts. She's a pastor's wife. She's not here anymore. And Sherry Geisinger, she just recently retired. A couple of the ladies, and praying with her. And finally, my wife gets the courage, and she goes online, and it takes her 20 minutes. She has a phone number, and then the whole prayer process starts again. She's starting to panic, like, should I call? What should I do? Pray for me. And so she does, and she calls the lady, and the lady says, "Yeah, that's me." And she lived in Buell, Idaho. So about 12 years ago, we drove to Buell, Idaho to meet her. And that's where BJ's from. That's BJ's dad planted the church in Buell, Idaho, Calvary Chapel, Buell. And so we went to Buell. There was no church there then. So we went to Buell and met her mother. And it ended up being really bad. It was a horrible thing. And so we decided we were going to go to church at the River Christian Fellowship, which was at that time Calvary Chapel, Twin Falls. And that's Mike Kessler's church, Mary Lee's brother. He has a radio. It's probably the largest Christian radio network in the world. It's a Christian Satellite Network, CSN. So we went to church there, and the guy gives us a tour of the radio station because we were from California, and he was like, one of the ladies said, "Oh, Mike, lots of people from California." He gives us a tour. And so we toured the radio station. At the end, he says, "So, where do you go to church?" And I said, "Oh, it's called Joshua Springs." And he goes, "Oh, Gerald." And I'm like, Twin Falls is some weird podunk place, and so is Yucca, right? Like, who knows about Yucca? And a guy named Gerald. And but that's the Calvary Chapel connection, which I was unaware of. So it was just a weird thing for me. We came back here, and I shared it with Gerald, and Gerald said, "Well, we were the first radio station or broadcast from that radio station." So it made sense. So probably 5 years goes by, and Gerald starts making an announcement from the pulpit saying, "Hey, I got a buddy who's really sick. He's got cancer. He's got pancreatic cancer, which Gerald's wife had died a year before from the same cancer." And so Gerald's going up there and helping and sending guys up there to teach and to fill in for this guy. How long is this anyway? 5:30. Okay. All right. So, long story short, there was Gerald's assistant at that time. His name was Jackie Roberts. And Jackie Roberts ended up going up there, which was weird because that's the guy who discipled me here in Joshua Springs. And so, his wife was one of the people praying for my wife to find her mother. And so when they took the position up there, they were like, "Wow, you guys should come to Idaho. That was just too odd, right?" And it was odd. It was like, God took us to a strange, obscure place and then sent my buddy there. Right? What's that mean? So time passes by, and there was awesome people there in that church, and they didn't need a guy like me. So my wife and I always talked about it laying in bed every couple of months, like, "You think we're supposed to move to Idaho?" And I'm like, "I'd sure love to get out of the desert. I hate sweating. I'm not going to sweat again the rest of my life. Like, it gets 95 up there, and I want to move north. Like, let's move north." So anyway, sometime after that, that pastor dies. Britt Heather dies. Long story short, Gerald marries Mary Lee. They moved down here. BJ and Audrey, or BJ Charity moved down here. And it was a little rugged for BJ in the beginning because a lot of the guys who went to school here, grew up and went to Bible college here, were like, why do you get to be, you know, Gerald's right-hand guy? It's like, BJ has a calling. It's like, that should be obvious, right?
Yeah.
My God knows what he's doing. And so BJ and I became very close, and because I would stand with him whenever he had to teach, and it would deflect people from giving him a hard time. Like, blah, blah, blah. People are people, right? And so BJ and I became pretty close. And just like Gerald said, he went to take over the church in Idaho. And some things happened, and I never told BJ the story about my dealings in Idaho. And BJ, as soon as he finds out he has to go to Idaho, he tells Gerald, hey, you think it would be a good idea if I took Dave with me? And he, you know, he could help me up there. And Gerald said, that's a great idea. So BJ calls me, you know, 11 o'clock at night and says, hey, I just want you to pray about, consider going to this place called Twin Falls, Idaho. And I'm like, okay, that's number 3. That's 3 that God took me there once. Then Jackie Roberts went there, and now BJ's asking me to go there. Is that, either that's really odd coincidence or God's doing something, right? So my point is when you know that God's touched you with something and showed you something, it doesn't have to be in that particular order. I'm just sharing you mine, right? But you only make it to that point by what I like to call getting in the boat. You gotta get in the boat, right? And right now, you guys, for whatever circumstances, whatever drama took, praying, arguing with parents, whatever it was, your friends, and saying, you know what, I'm gonna go to Bible college, I'm gonna go do it. You surrendered your life, right? You let your life go, and you came here. Like, you could be working, you could be in regular college, but you came here, right? So you're in the boat. And what I'm here to tell you to do is to stay in it. To stay in it and watch the miracle. It trips me up because I taught on Monday nights at the addiction study. My wife started the women's study. It's been going on for years. It's super fruitful. So, and I got to teach here. And so in my mind and heart, I got to teach at the greatest church in the land every Monday night, and I got to teach at the Bible college, raising up men and women to be in ministry, and I was fulfilled. And when I decided in my heart, God, I'm happy with this for the rest of my life, I'll serve you. It was time for me to go. You know, I graduated Bible college, Bible college, and all those things came together at the same time. So I asked you guys why you're here, because some of you know and some of you don't know, right? I didn't hear anybody say anything about worship. You are? Okay, cool. Worship? Awesome. AJ probably? Angel? Okay. Awesome. Were you playing the drums the other day?
The drums, I was not.
Keyboard?
No, he was singing.
He was singing. Yeah.
Because I see some of you online, on Facebook. Okay.
He plays
I saw you the other day. You were playing the keys. Yeah, okay. All right, so, amen. Amen. But you don't have to know why you're here. All you gotta know is that God brought you here, right? Because you're not gonna surrender your life to not have a reason to come here, right? So what I want to encourage you to do is not surrender that. Don't get out of the boat. Because some pastors are going to come through here starting now. How many are in your second semester? Ralph, you know where you're going? You go back.
Go back home.
Go back home. How old are you, Ralph?
25, turn 26.
Okay, all right. This is not so much for you, it's for everybody else. I want to tell you guys something. Most pastors sin, like I say, AJ here. My goal is for AJ not to come back to us, because I know that. I know that God raises us up to send us out, right? I want to tell you this, it might make your pastor upset, but don't go home Unless your pastor's the dad and that's the plan. Catholic and I say that because when you get home, you get out of the boat. When you stay in the boat, you're still out there. You're still out there being protected by the Lord, being guided by the Lord, going through the trials that the Lord set up for you and learning what God has set up for you. Don't get out of the boat. I stood in a corner in Gooding, Idaho, like surrendered everything. I'm standing on this corner. These people asked me to teach this Bible study. I was teaching on the radio every Sunday morning live. 25 million potential listeners. I was more nervous teaching this Bible study with 25 people in it than I was on the radio. And at the end, these people said, okay, we got a pastor, what do we do next? So I'm in this small town, like 3,500 people, and there's like 10 churches, 11 with the Mormon church, if you're counting that as a church. And we're like number 12. And we're in this hospital building that we're in is on 12th Avenue East. And I'm like, I look at my wife and I'm like, that's a great sign. And she's like, I don't get it. You know, does anybody not get that? 10th Avenue West, 12th Avenue, 12 Drives in the East.
I was gonna ask you.
Whatever. Come on.
I thought that's what you were talking about. I thought it was, but I was like, I don't want to like say something that sounds stupid.
I pay attention to those little things. I'm like, oh, look at that, look at this. And that's what you should do too. And not think you're crazy. Or maybe you can just agree to be crazy and it's okay. Right? Because you're in here. But I'm telling you, when you're in that boat, going where God, how do you get to those places? Well, while you're in here, towards the semester, towards the end of your second semester, like next semester, those of you who are still here are gonna see me again. Woo! Yeah. Yeah. I'm here to encourage you to stay in ministry. And ladies, I know that seems different. Like, and I wanna encourage you too, because you think, well, I'm a girl, and I'm not gonna be a pastor, I'm not gonna be this, I'm not gonna be that, or maybe I'll do this or that. You have no idea what's going on, right? Because a pastor, not trying to be matchmaker, but pastors always need equipped wives, right? They need equipped wives. And women lead worship all the time, do they not?
Yes.
Yeah, we need equipped women, absolutely. And there's more things in the church that are done by women than we actually recognize. Right, so don't be afraid of that. We took some students before, especially if you come from some Latino culture, and like your parents, they're just, you speak English for them. Anybody here like that? How about any other culture where you speak English for your parents? Yeah? And some cultures like that, women can't teach or do anything like that. If you come to Gooding Springs, there's the hook, right? If you come to Gooding Springs, it doesn't matter if you're a girl or a guy, you're going to teach, right? There is a hook to it, because what I'm doing is what everybody should be doing. All these other pastors with you guys. If a pastor comes here and says, what's your name again? Zachariah. Hey, will you consider coming to San Antonio? Gooding? Would you consider going to
The Springs.
Oregon? The Springs. You know, if someone comes and says, hey, or David comes in the room with you and says, hey, you know, Calvary Chapel Mountain Home is looking for a couple to do children's ministry. They want someone to take this over. Or this church says I need a youth leader. Or, you know, so on down the line. I would encourage you, like most people want to go, yeah, I don't know if that's good for me. Especially if you get to be on the worship team here at JS, you have a big stage, looks like a big show. Yeah, I'm part of a big show, right? Go, go, because you're still in the boat. It is only until you get out of the boat that the Lord tells you this is your dock. This is the place I have for you. And that doesn't mean that you won't get back in the boat again. Because Jesus told Nicodemus, Nick at night, right? He told him, Nick at night? Nicodemus came to Jesus at night, right? He's like, it was all secretive, so it was naked night.
Not this.
Praise God.
So, and he had some questions for him, and Jesus is answering the questions, and he's like, hey, you gotta be born again. And then he explains that whole thing to him, and Nicodemus still isn't jiving with what's going on. And Jesus said, you know where the wind comes from? Do you know where the wind comes from? No, you don't know where the wind comes from, and you don't know where it's going. And such are my disciples. Yeah? I didn't know I was gonna be here this week. Every time we're in the mission field, I always ask who I'm with. If it was me and Ron and we were in Ethiopia right now, I'd say, we go into some village, we're showing the Jesus film, and I go, Ron, if bad stuff happened right now, which way would we run? And he'd go, away, I don't know. Away from the bad guys. Like, and so where are we? Where the wind blew us, where the Spirit brought us, right? And do we need to worry about where the Spirit brings us? Jesus told his disciples, he sent out his disciples in Luke chapter 10, and he said, well, if you're a critical text, it was 72, guys. If you're more New King James or King James, it was 70. But he sends them out and says, hey, don't take an extra pair of shoes with you. Don't take an extra bag with you. Don't take any money with you. No toothbrush. He didn't tell them that. But, and they came back. He gave them all the instructions of what to do, and when they came back, they were filled with joy. And right after that, that's chapter 10, Jesus was joyous. And that's the only time in the Gospels that it talks about Jesus being joyous over what's going on. Yeah.
What scripture was that?
It's Luke 10. Like right in the middle.
Verse 9.
And so the point is all these other times, Jesus is teaching them a lesson, and they don't listen. They don't listen to the lesson. They're like, oh, the Samaritans, they don't want us to kick it with them. You want to send down fire from heaven? And Jesus is like, no. No, you don't know what spirit you're of, right? But in that verse 10, or whatever verse it is, he's joyous because these guys are getting it. They're getting it. They trusted him when he told them to go out. Right? Turn to Matthew chapter 14. Matthew 14. Now, I want you guys to know what I'm doing right now is not a Bible teaching.
Matthew
14.
It's not a Bible teaching. What I'm doing here, just so you absolutely know, I'm here to encourage you to go, especially since give me the second semester, guys, again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Where are you going? No clue. I like it. Where are you going?
The Springs!
You don't know.
The Springs.
You don't know.
The Springs.
Just so you guys know, the Springs have 2 people who just left here, right? Jonah and Obi.
Yeah.
They were supposed to come to Goody. I'm sorry. I had keys set up with their names on it and everything. Dude, I was so excited to have them. And it would be our 3rd year of taking interns. And we're increasing because our rooms are better than here. It's a double-sided bed. And every room has a shower.
Abby's living in my house.
When I walked into the hospital, I walked into the building and I looked down the hall, just like I'm looking down the hall right here, and I went, Lord, really? What's the building across the street? They're like, it's a convalescent center. I'm like, no way. What's that building over there? They're like, it's a drug and alcohol treatment center. I'm like, all right, I get it. I get it.
There's one question to seal the deal. You offer Rain by Spring.
If Ovi and Jonah were coming, yes, that would seal the deal. Right? So here's the thing. So I can only do what I learned how to do here. I was raised up under Gerald. Jackie Roberts was discipling me, and before Jackie left, Gerald was like, you can stay here for the rest of your life, we're a perfect team. And we're gonna win. Right? Love-filled church Philadelphia. Raise them up, send them out. And so that's all I know. And so when I walked into that building, I see this building, and I know what to do. But what we will need, so here's the thing, here's what I want you to pray about. Our situation, and Gerald explained just briefly, we have this building, it's 40,000 square foot building. And the land is like a city block. Road goes through it, almost 5 acres of land, all grass and trees, it's not desert. It is desert up there, but there's no creosote bushes, it's like sage bushes. It's all farmland. So it's tons of farmland. I see more horses driving down one street than I've ever seen anywhere in my whole life here. Like, if you like animals, tell me I'm lying. Cows, goats, sheep, everything's there.
Yes.
And it's like, it's America, for sure. And if you like hunting and fishing and guns.
Yes!
Yeah. It took me about 6 months of moving from California and moved to Idaho before I realized, oh, I wasn't free there. There's a bridge in Twin Falls called the Prime Bridge. It's like 750 feet, and they base jump off. So they got backpacks and parachutes, and they just jump off the bridge. And I'm like, they can do that? They're like, yeah, a lot of them. And I go, you're from California. Yeah, you gotta be careful. And people die. They jump up the bridge, their chute don't go, they bite the dust, they're dead. The city comes out, cleans them up, and says, boys and girls, be careful.
Yes.
Yeah. You only gotta wear a mask at Costco. Woo! Anyway.
Awesome, too. Man.
So, okay.
It's like an hour.
So some of the vision, and David knows the vision, he's paying attention for who I should get, because at some point I'm gonna need a David. I'm gonna need a Pastor David to do what's going on here. But what I'm looking for myself, for our church, for our facility, is that couple, right? Solid, to do that. But what I'm looking for all the time, and I don't know who that person is, it might be you. You know, every person who's come and took a walk through our building, there's just a massive amount of work to be done. We have to transform this building. And so the state owns the land. And they want $286,000 for the land, which is crazy in a small town. It's like every other lot in this town costs $60,000, $40,000, $20,000. But the state owns it, and the building, we already have, the guy wanted $200,000 in the beginning, and I'm telling you that if this piece of property was in California, you've been there, right? If it were in California, it's a $5 million piece of property. We're gonna buy the building for $30,000, we'll give the tax deductible receipt, and we have to pay $286 for the dirt, so $310,000. We just got a down payment, we're ready to get a loan. Once that happens, we can tear it apart.
Oh, I was gonna ask, what kind of remodels are you guys doing?
It's a steel structure building. All we gotta do is gut it, put it back together.
I was a metal stud framer in the union before I got here.
I love you. Okay, so what we're gonna do afterwards is I'm gonna put some, I don't have any cards because I gave them a bunch of guys who were listening to me ramble on the fishing boat, which is cool. They're like, hey, religion always seems weird, but it makes sense. I'll call you. All right, cool. So we're gonna put a piece of paper back there, and everybody's gonna write their name, their email address, their phone numbers, right? I'm gonna take a picture of it when I leave so people can keep adding to it, and David can continue to send me, right? And then I'll call you, and you're getting close. You're graduating this semester? No? Next semester?
This semester, yeah.
Are you married? You have kids? No?
He's gotta be.
Huh?
Praise God.
great, man.
So, we're gonna need that. So that's the goal, I need someone to be solid in what's going on. I already have a grumpy.
Nice.
Yeah, and he came from Joshua Springs Bible College, and he's from Massachusetts, just like Grumpy.
Is he another one of the seven dwarfs?
No, his name's Tom Allen.
Oh.
Love Tom. So, we do a lot of shooting and anyway. What I'm looking for all the time, every semester, here's what we do, and the other pastors, not all of them, but David goes to Tri-Cities, Pastors Conference, and all these pastors show up from Oregon, Washington, Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho. It's like the 5 Pacific Northwest states, right? And a lot of these pastors are learning what we're doing and doing, yes?
Do you know Pastor Ted Etheridge? Do you know Pastor Ted Etheridge?
Ted Etheridge, I might. Does he kind of have reddish hair, short? No?
Blonde.
Blonde hair?
Yeah.
I might know him if I saw his face. Where's he from?
Bozeman.
Bozeman,
He's my
okay.
pastor.
I've been to Bozeman. Oh, I talked to him on the phone. Actually, about 8 months ago, I talked to him on the phone about a couple that I was in the mission field with.
Wow.
That's cool.
Praise God. Yeah, anyway. So our goal is, we'll take some interns, you'll live in the building just like you live here. We'll feed you at my house is like an open door, just come and go, whatever you want, we'll watch movies, do whatever. Right now, Burnaby, anybody know Burnaby? He graduated like 2 semesters ago, he was from Washington. We need a Spanish pastor. So Elios, you know Pastor Elios?
Yes.
Elios was he planted the Spanish church in our church. He was a Spanish pastor here, he came to Gooding, planted it, and his daughter had to come back here, so Elios is up there, Burnaby is up there filling in for him. We need a Spanish pastor, number 1. I need someone that can speak Spanish and wants to pour into a small church and help it grow. Huh? Yeah?
Daniel Ortiz.
No. So here's what we'll do. When I need someone, David's gonna come talk to you and say, hey, you wanna go to Gooding? Dave's gonna fly you up there and you're gonna teach for whatever amount of time. You good with that? Boom! How old are you? 30. Perfect. Reading, speaking Spanish, you're all good.
Made by Spring.
Okay, no pressure. Whatever God tells you, yes, sir.
Are you guys cool with someone being involved by having a job, like outside of?
Yeah, here's what I tell everyone, here's what I tell the interns. Get a part-time job. I might have that all worked out at a grocery store. Because Burnaby went there, and Burnaby just like blew them away. Everybody loves Burnaby. He ministered to everybody in the store, like Bakewood Mormons, like the dude's untouchable. Like, and he quit, and he said, I'm going home, and they were like, don't go, and then he came back, and he's all, hey, I need to work, and they're like, start tomorrow, fill out the application later. So if I can get hard workers like that, and I can go, hey, Bob, I got 2 people coming, can you give them just part-time jobs? But the deal is, I'm telling you part-time, because you gotta tell them, like, no Sunday, or whatever day you're serving, or Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it is, right? Monday nights we do the addiction study, just like we do here, most excellent way. But when there's nobody struggling in there, then we call it critical discipleship, and we're going to look at a little bit of that if we've got some time. Which is the Beatitudes, where Jesus is doing some work in your life, and all you got to do is show up for it, right? Matthew 5.
So I was in there, I couldn't hear, where are you from?
Gooding, Idaho. I'm from here. I'm in Gooding, Idaho.
Okay.
Yeah, we're about an hour and 10 minutes away
Yeah.
from the Springs, from Mike's church. Yes. Okay. And then we're all like, we got a nice clique of churches, right? We got the Springs, they came from here. We have Calvary Chapel Buell, came from here. Gooding Springs, came from here. Calvary Chapel Jerome, Mountain Home. We got 5 churches that are capital. Now we have Calvary Chapel Kimberly. Church plant came out of Buell, and we are like one big family. So if you're not serving at Gooding, you're going to serve at Hagerman. I'm sorry, 6 churches. So 20 minutes away is Calvary Chapel Hagerman. 40 minutes away straight, like from here to 29 is Buell. straight down the road. 40 minutes over is Jerome. An hour and 10 or 15 minutes is the Springs, Mountain Home, an hour the other direction. So we're like connected like this, and when they call and go, oh, send Angel over. Is Angel free next Sunday? Yeah, I mean, we're going on a retreat, or we're doing this, we're going hunting, come and teach, right? So here's what we do in Goody. You can like us on Facebook, and you can you'll see, if you go on Facebook, you're gonna see Jonah taught, what's today? Monday? Jonah's teaching Wednesday night for me. He's filling in for me. He filled in last week, and he's teaching, one guess. Jonah. Yeah, he's all, can I teach Jonah? You teach Jonah. Right? So what happens is, we record you, we upload you to the website, so you got the audio on the website, and you're gonna go live stream. Right? And so what's good about the live stream is gonna go away, but when pastors call me and say, hey, I need this guy, and I go, hey, well, I got these two guys, go on our website right now and listen to Jonah. He's teaching through Jonah. You can listen to him online. Oh, okay. Then they call me back, when can I meet him? Right? That's how it works. Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. Those are so it's kind of like human trafficking, right?
One more. I feel like.
No?
Not
Pastoral staff.
Pretty close.
I'm like, I got a bunch of people from the Bible college. And so here's how it works. Here's what we're doing in Good. We'll take, if you're a couple, you're gonna work together. Women, you're gonna get in a rotation teaching ladies Bible study, and my wife will help you with it. She'll raise you up in teaching ladies Bible study, right? Youth groups, doesn't matter, guys or girls, like we've taught girls already. When you leave, you'll know how to put together a youth retreat. You'll know how to put together, you'll have the idea of like Vacation Bible School or Trunk or Treat, everything that's going on, everything that happens in children's ministry, youth ministry. We won't make you serve in the nursery, won't do that. Unless you want to, you have a heart like, oh, there's a need, I'm cooking. And you don't serve every week. You only have one service on Sundays, so you alternate with whoever there's two of you, you teach this, the next week you're teaching it. It's just like here, we teach, if I'm teaching in Luke, you're teaching in the same chapter, right? And then next week you sit in the service, and then you serve, and you teach the next chapter yourself. So learning how to teach doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. You're on the ground, putting your feet, yes.
I'm just curious, how would the pay for slave work, or what is that like? You know what I'm saying? Like here we do like working at the thrift store to pay off our tuition. Like, is there?
You're gonna serve.
About that? Yeah.
You're gonna serve. And if you can't get a job, we're gonna take care of you. We're gonna feed you. You're gonna eat out and beer and.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, it's hot world. Idaho is like outdoor world.
Yeah.
Like you might come to church on one Sunday and it might be packed, and next week you're like, where is everybody? These guys are farming, they're harvesting, and those guys are hunting, these guys are fishing, those guys are drinking. It's crazy, so you never know. But you get the picture, right? And then, so we have a Sunday night service, but we don't do Sunday night service right now because there's no interns. So Sunday night's your opportunity to alternate teaching adults. Right? And it's a small service, and everyone who shows up to that service knows why they're coming, because you're going to be there teaching and you're getting raised up. Everyone in our church knows exactly what we're doing. Like, this is what we are doing. And when we can increase and build a new sanctuary, then the part of the church that we're in right now becomes CBI Northwest. Woo! That's the goal, right? So right now we're taking the interns, and the goal is that you'll spend a semester. No one's ever done 2 semesters, because by the time the semester's over, there's a place for you. Someone's calling and saying, hey, I need them. What do you got? Like, you got to make sure they got a job. You got to make sure they got a place to live for now until they get settled in. And there has never been a problem yet. No pastor's actually ever had to do that. They left, they got taken care of, they got a job, boom, someone in the church like, oh, I got this over here, they can go into this, and you know what I mean? God knows what he's doing. So I'm telling you, don't go home. Go somewhere. And once Gerald got a picture of what we've been doing in Gooding, he started putting it out there. Hey, why don't you I'm asking all the Calvary chapels to take some interns. I've been pushing all around our valley, all the other Calvaries, and they're like, okay, we need an apartment. I'm like, yes, you need an apartment, right? And we'll just keep them coming. And my deal is I'm not looking for you to come and stay until the Lord calls that person saying, hey, I'm staying here. And so far, every person that's come to Gooding, except for one, said, here's what happens. You show up in this tiny, small town, doing small services, but you're hands-on. You're not just praying for if you're going and interning at a big church, because if you go to a big church, right, you go to a big church to intern, you might be a janitor, which is fine. But you might not be able to teach, right? So I want to tell you, I want to suggest to you, small church. Small church, you're really going to put what the Lord's put in your heart to do, you're going to put it to work, because every small church needs. Every big church needs, but they got a pool of people they can pick from, right? Go to a small church and serve and serve and serve and serve, right? Don't get out of the boat. So a lot of guys come here, maybe, you guys met Hagen? Yeah.
Stud.
Hagen, if you come to Gooding, you'll see Hagen once a semester, because he'll come and teach just so I can say, see, look at that kid. That dude's 23? 22. He was a Mormon. These kids are rock star. Like, that dude's epic. He'll have a mega church one day, right?
Yeah.
So he'll come to Gooding every semester just to teach once. Just for the encouragement. So, and on top of all that stuff, we do world missions, like 3 a year. Chuck Springer here, Equip and Train Jesus Film Teams. I've been working with Chuck for 10 years. And that's what we're gonna do too, is train people how to do it. Like Brian Cook and Leslie, they got married. We took Brian on 3 different trips. I can call him Brian any day of the week and he'll know exactly what to do when we go to mission. Yeah. I should be, well, I don't know how it's gonna look after this. I should be in Ethiopia right now. Equipping and training the Jesus Film Team. Also what we do, so we do that at night. We train them how to set up this backyard equipment and how to tear it down. And then during the day, I'm teaching 50 pastors how to teach verse by verse. Because in most of the places, they don't know how to do it. That's what you guys are doing right now, right? That's what you guys are doing right now. There's not one of you in here that couldn't help do that. Not a problem, right? And then we drill some wells. It all depends on how many donations we have. So there's a lot going on in a tiny little place. So we're going to look at this text real quick. Matthew 14. Look at verse 22. So just before verse 22, Jesus feeds the 5,000. Right? That whole drama happens, and if you look at the you don't have to right now, but if you look at it in John, at the same account, these guys came to take Jesus and make him king. We're going to make you king, but Jesus puts a halt on it, right? And he sends them off. Verse 21 says, now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Verse 22, here we go. Immediately, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat. He made them get into the boat. His disciples. You guys are in the boat. Don't get out of it. But here's what's up. Here's what's going to happen. Look. Get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitude away. So he sends the multitude away. He tells them, get in the boat and go to the other side. Right? Verse 23, and when he had sent the multitude away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And now, when evening came, he was alone there. Okay, here's the scene, right? Jesus is up on the mountain. If you were looking south, like you're looking at the map from the Sea of Galilee, you're looking up at the Sea of Galilee from the south, Capernaum's up here, Jesus walks up on a mountain over here, he sends the disciples over here. You with me? So Jesus goes up on this mountain to pray. These guys are rowing. They row all night. What do you think Jesus is praying for? Yeah. He made his disciples get in the boat. He knows exactly what's going on. He knows exactly what you're doing, or what you're gonna be doing. You just have to make the decision of, yes, I'm gonna get in, and we're gonna row to the other side, right? Let's see what happens. Verse 24 says, but the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. When you leave here, and you go to wherever that pastor, like, you'll know, like, maybe you won't, you're like, maybe I should go here. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I'm telling you, you might get one opportunity, you might get 3 opportunities, but you might not get 4. Does that make sense? A pastor might come in here and say, hey, come with me to Michigan. You're like, yeah, I don't know if I like Michigan. I'm thinking more of San Luis Obispo, you know. I'm cool with that. And then another pastor might come and go, well, how about Hemet? You're like, right? And then another one might come and go, man, how about Driggs, Idaho? Small town place, but you don't know how epic it is. And you're like, nah, I don't know about that. And then no one asks you again. Right? Will you be making a mistake by picking the first one? No, because God Jesus made you get into the boat. You got to learn how to trust him. Trust him, right? Don't trust such and such, and they're like, I don't see that ministry on you. Don't listen to that. Listen to him. Yes.
What do you do when you're faced with multiple good options?
That happened to me. That's a good question. Here's what happened.
It's like we see everything that's going on, and we're hearing all about this, and it's exciting to think of the idea of getting involved. But then again, it's like, I know I have a spot to return at my home church, or what if another spot opens up along this next year? So what do you think is the decision maker, given that God himself was open?
Here's what happened to me, right? So BJ asked me to go to Idaho, and then all kinds of drama happened up there, and the general said, nah, just wait, hold on. 2 years went by. Within that 2 years, Mike Yost was at a men's retreat, and he said to me, hey Dave, maybe you would consider come check out the springs. I talked to the men's retreat, and he was like, oh cool, hey, awesome. And same time, Chris Begno, Gerald's son-in-law, is at Tooele Springs, and Chris, he was the children's pastor here for years. He goes up to North Dakota and on his way back, he's all, hey Dave, I talked to Gerald, he said it would be a good idea. Come help me plant a church in North Dakota. And I'm like, and then BJ asked me again, go to Idaho. And I'm like, multiple options, right? So I go to Pastor Bob and I go, hey Pastor Bob, this, and this. This guy. And he says, I've watched people come in here, come to Bible college and not finish because someone said they were awesome, called them out in 2 years, they were done with ministry. Right? And so 2 years into again, and BJ asked me again. And I went to Pastor Bob and I said, hey, remember that conversation we had? And then at the end of the conversation, so I said to Bob, so what you're saying is, we'll all kind of have a better understanding of what I'm supposed to do. And he said, yeah, we're gonna know. And so when I came back to Pastor Bob 2 years later, wasn't 2 years later, like that grouping of guys asking me to do that all happened at once. And then I said, Bob said, well, what do you think? And I said, I think, well, obviously, like BJ is walking into a hot spot, like he's walking over the coals, so I need to think that. Bob, Pastor Bob wept, like he had a tear. And he said, God really does give you the desires of your heart, right? So the point is God gives you the desire of your heart. And then he gives you the desire of your heart. Yeah? He puts it in there, and then you start praying, Lord, what do you want me to do? I think I want to do this. And the Lord's like, yeah, keep coming. Keep coming. I got you. Are you crazy? Yes, you're crazy. Just be okay with it, right? It's okay. Because some people get scared and they think, well, what if I do the wrong thing? God's not in it. He didn't want me to do that. No way. God don't work like that. God, he will walk through your confusion and pull you forward even though you still want to be confused. And he'll keep moving away and keep moving you and keep moving you. And as long as you're focused on him and you're praying, God, I don't know what to do. Are you telling me to do this? And you're like, I don't know if I should do that. I don't want to do that. Maybe that's the one. What do you want to do? I don't think it matters because God knows the end result. He knows what you're going to do, what you're going to choose, where you're going to go. And he already put it there, right? He knows. And as long as you are stepping out of that boat to walk to him, it doesn't matter. You need to trust him, right? Trust him. And like I said, don't go home. Let's look at what else went on here. Again, verse 24 says, but the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. So they're in this trial, right? Everyone who's come to Gooding, just like me. I got to Gooding and I'm teaching in Gooding and I'm like, Lord, what am I doing here? How did I get to this place called Gooding, right? Every intern that's come, now I know, probably within a week to a week and a half, they're gonna cry, break down and go, why did I come here? Because the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Wherever it is you go, when you get there, you're gonna not know anybody. You're only gonna know the spirit that's in someone, right? You're gonna know them, you're gonna trust them. All I can do is trust them and be vulnerable. That's all you do, right? But you're gonna be in that wave of like, I don't know if I should be here. Don't think that, right? Because you might not stay there as long as you got the mind that I'm still in the boat and I'm still rowing, right? And if you ever get confused, don't hesitate to call David Enos and say, I don't know. This isn't working out for me. I'm not jiving here. You got anywhere else? David's on it. He's on it. Like I call him, and he's like, I got a list of guys who haven't been sent out. Start calling them. And to me, I don't like, kid named Dan, he's from Henry, right? Out of everybody that was in that semester, everybody's like, Danny's not gonna be, not that guy, well, I want that guy sitting with me. He's now the youth pastor at Calvary Chapel Hammond. Yeah. Amen, right? Yeah. You only listen to him. Because the trial is gonna come when you leave. The enemy's gonna start attacking, right? As long as you're in the boat, what happens? Did the boat sink? Did any of the boats that Jesus was in ever sink?
From your perspective, and I normally wouldn't ask a question like this with everyone here, but I guess I'd ask on behalf of if someone else has the same question. I know that you say don't go home, but like I've just noticed in my, like I really have a heart.
Okay,
like,
hold on. Before you say any of that, before you say it, I will say this. I will say this. If you already know, if your pastor sent you here and you're going home because you have a position at that church and that's your calling and there's no doubt about it, that's what you should do because you're still in the boat, right? I'm telling those of you who, at the end of this is for you. This is what I'm getting at. Who don't know, and they're like, well, I just want a better understanding of the word. Don't go home. You're already in the boat. You already surrendered your life, right? Don't get out until you see the miracles happening. They're gonna happen. You're gonna see God do crazy stuff. And when it happens, all you're gonna be able to do is tell people what I'm telling you right now, like, go, right? Because I'll tell you this, if you come to Gooding, I'm going to be asking you, so what's God telling you? What do you think? Like, do you have an idea of where you might want to go? Or, you know, what I'm digging for is to find out what God put on your heart. Like, what do you want? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Why are you here, right? Why are you here? And then once you tell me, you might regret it, because that's all I'm going to do is push that. Push, yeah, go, dude. Let's get on the phone. I'm going to call these guys in Washington, because I think one of them said this at a pastor's day, hey, check this out, I got this guy, or this girl, or this couple, right? And I'm going to push that, and push it, and push it, and push it, right? That's my job, is to make sure you get placed in full-time ministry when you come to Gooding and you learn how to put your hands into it, right? So when you leave Gooding in a semester, and they say, well, what have you done? Well, I did VBS, I put this on, I learned how to put together a youth retreat. They're like, yeah, right? I taught on Sunday nights to adults. Yeah, I got someone who can cover for me, right? I taught at ladies' Bible study, and everything that my wife does on how to put on women's tees and do all these other pastoral lady stuff, right? Teach the youth, like, we're not scared. That's what you're gonna learn how to do ministry. And if a pastor comes in, not just me, but because I can't take all of you, if I could, you'd come to once school starts. If there was a phase 2, you'd come up there, since you've been doing Bible all these months. The pastor's been coming in, teaching different books and different things. We're gonna be teaching some theological stuff, like, you know, why are you reading King James? Why do you read ESV? And learn why, right? We're gonna learn textual criticism. You're gonna learn some Hebrew, some Greek, some Aramaic. You're gonna learn, you know, different styles of writing, why the Bible's written the way that it is, whether you're writing in who you learn about chiasm. Pastor Bob teach you about that? Chiastic? It's a Hebrew structure of writing, which is amazing. And, you know, narratives and prose and poetry. You're gonna learn about how the Bible, how it's written the way that it is. We're gonna teach you some more theological stuff. You're gonna learn about, we have a class that focuses on typology and prophecy. What is typology? What does the Old Testament have to do with the New? So we have some cool classes. And you'll probably be engaged with people from all these other chapters for now. So, back to it, verse 25 says, now in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went to them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, ah, it's a ghost. And they cried out for fear. So the 4th watch is like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, something like that, 4 o'clock in the morning. So they've been rowing. It started getting dark. Jesus made the disciples get in the boat, sent everybody away, went up the mountain to pray, sent them out. They've been rowing from at least 6 to 4 o'clock in the morning. They're in the trial. Get it? They're in the trial, and he's up on the mountain praying for them. They never turned back. Right? They didn't jump out of the boat. They didn't do anything. When Jesus comes walking up, they're like, great, all this, and now it goes. And what does he say to them? Verse 27, he says, but immediately, notice the first thing in verse 22, there's that word immediately. Now there's this word again. Immediately, Jesus spoke to them, saying, be good cheer and decide, don't be afraid. Hey, it's me. Who put him in the boat? Jesus put him in the boat. What was he doing?
Praying.
He was praying for them. And when they're like, had it, they're like, dude, when are we going to make it? Jesus comes walking across and he says, hey, be good cheer. It's me. It's been me the whole time. Like, I caused this wind. I allowed the trial to happen in your life because I'm putting you through it. Right? And if you're going through it, if you go to the church, that wherever you're called to go through, and you realize you're going through it, look back at this text. Look back at it and know that Jesus is praying for you. He himself is interceding for you. Keep going, keep rowing. And just because you go somewhere and you might think, I don't know about that place. I don't know about that guy. Or his friend. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You can't make a wrong decision. You know, you think those disciples, when they were sent out, 70 of them, and they went to this next village, and they were leaving that village, and were like, should we go to the north, or should we go to the south? Oh, no. If we picked the wrong one, it might suck. Right? It didn't matter. It didn't matter. The main point is to be encouraged about don't stop now. Because those who are the least of you might be the greatest, right? And those who are great will continue to be great. God knows exactly what he's doing. He's not going to leave any of us behind. What happens is what happens to Peter right here. It says, and Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it is you command me to come out to you on the water. So he said, come. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water. You can double underline, to go to Jesus. He didn't get out of the boat to get a new job, or buy a car, or go to this school or that school, right? He got out of the boat to go to Jesus. And that's when he was walking on the water, right? It wasn't until he got afraid, he started looking at the reality of life, that he started to sink, right? We see it here. Verse 30 says, but when he saw that the wind was boisterous, that means the things of the world, he was afraid. And beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. And what happened? Immediately. You catch on what Jesus is doing? It's this immediately. What's crazy too is in John, you look at the account in John, when it's all over and Peter gets back in the, Jesus and Peter get back in the boat, it says, and immediately they were to the shore. Right? We think we're going through the whole trial, and the Lord's like, hey, just keep rowing. I'm praying, I got you. Oh my God, you got it too, right? Every person that's come to Gooding, they cried about being there. Why am I here? What am I doing? And I'm like, just hold on, come on Monday nights, we sit down and we do discipleship, and Jesus does a miracle in our lives. And all our questions are answered. And then all of a sudden, every single one of them said, I want to stay here and serve. Which makes me just love them like my own sons and daughters. And then all of a sudden someone calls and says, hey, I got an epic place. Can I have that dude, Brian? And Leslie? Yeah. Like Brian Cook. He got offered from Roger Shea, right? Roger Shea was here? Love that dude. He's such an amazing guy. So and Brian's not telling me. Gerald calls Brian and says, hey, would you like to go to Rosedale, California and take over this church? And my job, I'm pushing Brian, like, hey, let's go check this out, let's do that. Maybe we'll plant a church in this small town right here. And people are offering him positions, but he's not telling me. Roger Shea calls him, because Leslie, the girl he's married to now, was there teaching school at the church's school. And finally I talked to Gerald, and Gerald says, oh yeah, I want him to go check out this church in Roseman. I'm like, you didn't tell me that. Brian, what's going on? Well, I don't know if I want to do that. I think I want to stay here. And I'm like, really? You serve here doing youth or be a pastor somewhere? And he goes, well, this other guy too, Roger, who lives in Driggs, Idaho. I'm like, Driggs, you know where that is? That's by Jackson Hole, you big ski resort there. So you know, people are fleeing California, they're gonna move to a cool place like this, and you're gonna end up being the pastor of a huge church in Driggs, Idaho, which is super epic. And he's like, well, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, well, what did he say last time he was here? he said, well, he wants to interview me, and I said, okay, so we gotta drive there, it's like 3.5 hours, and he goes, no. He said he'd pick me up in his plane. I'm like, dude, give me his number. Like, call him right now and tell him to go. He's gonna pick you up in a plane. Dude, what are you thinking? Like, go. So he went. It was amazing, right? And those are the miracles that are happening, right? If you come to Gooding and you're meant to stay there, you're gonna be there. But every person that said, okay, I get it. I'll serve here. It's like, God said, time to go, just like it was for me. So it's like my testimony plays out over and over and over with you guys when you come. And I'm guessing, because that's what my calling is right now, right? Do missions, and this is my mission. And God gave us that, He's given us this building up there to do what's going on here. So I know what my role is now, and what I'm supposed to be doing, and what I'm supposed to be telling you. Don't get out of the boat. Be encouraged. God brought you here. He makes His disciples get into the boat. Unless you're some devil worshiper who's coming in here like a fiend and you're like, I'm going to play Christian for a little while and then I'm going to destroy him. No, that's not happening. You would know, because the Spirit discerns those things, right? Go for it, guys. Stay in the boat, keep rowing, and know that no matter what anybody tells you, God's got a plan. He's using things. And we might not know what those plans are yet. We might not know that, like, well, I think I'm supposed to be this guy. And God's like, well, I got you to be this guy over here. And we're like, I don't know if I like that. Well, try it on. You won't know if something fits until you try it on, right? Like your favorite pair of pants. Like, this is not my favorite pair of pants. I don't like anything I'm wearing right now. This is like total mission gear. My feet got all stinky with blood from the tuna. And probably only I can smell it, but I'm glad, because it's bad. Like, in the mission field, I don't care. If someone needs a shirt before I leave, I'm like, you can have this one. Right? Cool. Less to carry home on my back. But you get what I'm saying, right? It's pretty simple. And so the semester's coming to an end. And someone's coming to good. At least 2, maybe 3. Right? You Spanish pastor here. Pray about that. It's a small church, you know. There's a lot of farms and a lot of dairy guys in Gooding that are from Mexico. And there's Jehovah's Witnesses there. I don't think there's any Mexicans in the Mormon church. I don't think so. I haven't seen any. But the Jehovah's Witnesses are real in a minute, right? And the rest of them are Catholic, so they're too afraid to go somewhere else. And then the guys that are like, I don't want anything. That's the guys, the people that say, I don't want any church, that's your mission field. Brother. Right? But hey, there's a group of people, maybe this many for the church. Got your own sanctuary, it's about this big. Yeah. We should have internet in there soon. So it's on. We got you. And yeah. So you guys got any questions?
So which church in Idaho are you?
Gooding Springs, Calvary Chapel. It's the Springs. Notice it's Joshua Springs, Gooding Springs, Tula Springs, The Springs. We all seem to come from this place, right?
You're saying it's a small church?
Yeah.
Wait, your property?
Yeah.
Why?
We're gonna do this.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know how many people in my church, just like Mike Yost really doesn't know how many people in his church, because there's farmers and there's hunters and there's fishermen and they're you name it. It's outdoor work. As soon as it gets 40 degrees, kids are outside playing in the water hose. People go camping every week. Like every house in every neighborhood has a trailer to camp. Yeah.
Do you like check it out? About it? You know what I'm saying? Like, do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what'll happen, I don't know what'll happen. I just know what has happened. I'm not gonna say that. You phone dudes up there like, hey, you know, like Brian Cook, I'm like, Gerald's like, I got this guy Brian, he's awesome. I'm like, good, send him up, because I'm going to Nigeria. And Brian came up, taught, and when I he went home and when I came back, he's like, yeah, man. But, like I said, you might get asked one place, you might get asked two. If you get asked three, praise the Lord, I wouldn't play another hand. Right? Yes?
When's your next missions trip?
Well, as long as I can get cleared from Interpol for having an international warrant for my arrest, which I consider to be pretty punk rock. I grew up punk rock, so I'm the envy of all my friends right now. They're like, dude, yeah! Who wants it in every place on the planet for $300? So I'm not really a threat.
What would you say why students that leave and go serve, why they get burnt out? So
why they get burnt out?
Yeah, industry.
Well, I know for a fact some have gotten burned out because they went to a really big church, big name pastor, and they're like a janitor, or they're like, what ministry do you get to do? And they're like, well, I get to pray on Sunday mornings before this little, before the worship team. I get to pray sometimes. I'm part of the prayer group. It's like, you don't get to do anything else? No. Or maybe they just get stuck in something they don't appreciate. Like, some people don't appreciate children's ministry. That's, for me, my opportunity to teach in children's ministry, I was so excited. And when the kids love you, once they love you and you know they love you, they own you. They own you. You can do it for the rest of your life. I'm like, I'm here. You got me. But why they get burnt out? Because they're losing hope. They're losing faith. They're losing what their idea of is like you're here, right? You're on the worship team. You're on a big church. You're like rock star. Yeah, I'm going to serve here. You're not going to serve here because next semester there's going to be a group more getting to do the same thing you're doing, right? Keep moving. Stay in the boat. Keep rolling, right? The more opportunities you're going to get are going to be in smaller churches. And the more need is in smaller churches. And in places like Idaho, Texas, Utah, Wyoming, Montana, because there's not a lot of people there, and people are fleeing New York, California, Washington, Oregon. They're leaving, and they're going to come into these little small towns who don't have Bible teaching churches. And those are the opportunities that you guys are going to be put in front of you for someone who knows how to teach through the Word of God. And that's what you're doing, right? There's pastors out there who've been teaching for 30 years can't do what you're doing right now. There's a lot to be done with you guys right here. Like, don't be afraid. And don't go home. Jumps me up, don't go home. Stay in the boat. Stay in the Lord's presence. Stay with Him. And He's going to guide you into what you're doing. Right? If a pastor from a small town comes here, and he wants you to come to his church, they need you. There's a community that needs you. Don't think you're not worth it. You're worth it. You're absolutely worth it. God has big stuff for us. You think there's a greater reward for a pastor who's teaching 1,000 people or a pastor who's teaching 100 people? Do you think there's a greater reward? You heard the parable, right? The guy who goes out, like he goes to Home Depot in the morning, and he gets some guys to come work, and he takes them, and by 10 o'clock, he's like, yeah, it's not enough guys, I'm gonna go back. He goes back to Home Depot, and he gets a couple more guys in his truck, and he's like, yeah, I'll pay you a whole day's wage, come. And they work for a couple more hours, and he goes back to Home Depot, because he knows it's not enough, right? 2 hours at the end of the day, he still pays them the same price, right? God gives us, another parable, the talents, right? Gave 1, 5, 1, 3, and 1, 1, right? The guy with 5 multiplied it. The guy with 3, he multiplied it. The guy with 1, he buried it, right? Yeah. What's the difference between the guy who had 5 talents and the guy who had 3? Nothing's the difference. God, it says in that parable that God gave them according to the ability which He'd already given them. There's no difference.
In that parable, when you say talents, it's a form of money, right?
Yeah. But interesting play on words, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. God knows what he's doing. He knows. Pay attention to that stuff.
I love the, just to kind of piggyback off that, but I love what someone said, they said there's no coincidence when you're walking with God. So like the whole talents being money, but then also talents being talents, like that's not a coincidence.
It's not absolutely heretical, but don't go down there. So are we good? We good? We good, Dave? Okay, so you guys, that's the gig. I come here and that's my hope for you guys. And it's not just to get you to come to my church, because I know you will. I'm worried about that. It's to make sure every one of you goes somewhere. Go. Don't hesitate. Like I said, you might get to play one hand, right? You might get to play two. But you might not get to make the third option. Like, I'm gonna wait for the next one. You might not get a third. Right? So I would be praying now. Add it to your prayer list of what God has for you and for you to be paying attention to where it is, right? And if you're open to go anywhere, then when he says, go to the other side, then you go to the other side. Wherever the other side is, right? You don't get out until he says, here's your spot. Amen? Yeah. Let me pray for you guys. Father, you lift up each one of us, Lord, because without testimony, none of us have a clue, Lord. And so, Lord, I just pray that you place on each person's heart here direction. Lord, you, even if they're not given direction, Lord, you work in many different ways, and that you put that little bit of faith in their hearts just to say, yep, I have no idea what this guy is saying or where he's going, but I'll go with him. And so, Lord, we just ask that you cover that. They're here, they're willing to go and to do just as you called out the 70, just as you call out each of your children, Lord. And just as you told Nicodemus where the wind comes from, we don't know, and where it blows, we don't know that either, but such as your disciples. Let it be with these here today, Lord. And that if you call for it to us tonight, let us all be found worthy to enter your kingdom. And that you have gone before us, that when you say come up here, that we would be found preaching and speaking and sharing your words, your statutes, and your love that would bring you glory at that moment. In Jesus' name, and all the saints said, amen. Amen. Hey, David, can we get that paper back there, the information list? We're good? So you guys pray about it, right? The semester's coming. Doesn't matter if you're next semester or this semester. Put your name on that paper.
Pray about it.
And when I get it, I'll call you.
Pray about it. Let's go. Idaho, everybody.
You're very welcome.
Idaho.
You're very welcome.
Gets me excited.
Are you too excited? I hope it does. It gets me excited. I love talking about it. I get all, go for it.
What's up?
I should be leaving on Thursday.
Right outside.
Hot or what?
What, you want to talk?
Wow, Haley. Cool. I said hot.
Well,
Going on
put
hot
your
or
name on that
what?
paper.
Just kidding.
Email address, your phone number.
Time for dinner.
And I'll get a picture of it tomorrow or Wednesday. Tomorrow or Thursday, and then I'll be cool. Who's ever on that list?
Let's get
You're
tonight.
graduating next semester. You're graduating now.
Idaho Ministries.
Okay. Then if you put your name over this one, we'll talk about it.
Wait, what happens after?
Is that for me?
Okay.
We're gonna have some Russian.
Oh,
Wait. After dinner, we have another class?
Absolutely, my pleasure. From your pleasure. But he doesn't know
I don't know, dude.
So
Lord speaking to you right now? Yeah.
That's on my part.
Oh wait, actually, I have.
I call that a sign, homie. I'm looking signs and wonders.
It's like a frontier. It's wide open.
It's wild.
That'd be dope, bro. That's amazing.
That's what I do. So. Yeah, when you say how much you later, sometimes, well, maybe we'll next week.
I don't know.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I said, I totally thought it was. And then she said,
It's just the fact of like, I look at so many other churches, and I mean, so many other churches, including Calvary Chapel I've ever been to.
I was like, what, dude?
Let's go.
What?
You know,
I'm calling Pastor Mike to come over here.
that's so much easier to teach.
What?
I mean, these people,
You're gonna love
been
this.
Christians longer than I've been alive.
I gotta learn this song because you freaking bailed, dude. What song?
Oh, are you leading a song now?
I said you freaking bailed, dude.